Samantha Graff from the Graff Girls, and today I'm here with my partner Cheryl Graff. Hello, Cheryl, and we have a guest today with us. It's Michael Solway. Hi, Michael.
Hi, how's everybody?
We're great, thank you.
Good.
And we are here with Michael today, as in the past, Cheryl and I have helped some clients with HST rebate for their homes when they go through a major renovation or a new condo sale. So I'm going to give the floor to Michael to share some of the ways and numbers, etc., that help you to go through this process and the timelines and all that of the rebate. It's a, what's it called? A HST home rebate program.
Right.
Got it.
Okay. So how it works is there's a couple of rebates that I look after. And let me just introduce myself first. I got into doing these rebates. My wife and I built a house about 6 years ago, and we learned about a number of different types of programs that were available where we could get money back from building our house. And two of them were a little bit unknown, one being this HST rebate, another one being a property tax refund. So I'm going to discuss the two of those today. And the property tax, the HST construction rebate has a number of different tentacles to it in terms of situations in which one it would apply to people. The main one that applies to these types of situations is when called an owner-built home or renovation, and that rebate is for $16,080 is the maximum rebate, and it's all done through one's invoices for their project. And once one got to over $300,000 of invoices, that would be the amount that would reach the maximum rebate. Whether you have $300,000 or $2 million of invoices, the rebate would still be the same.
So it's important to get an invoice from your contractors if you want to go through the rebate process.
Right. So one should always get the invoices that they are able to along the way, and just keep them together. And then what I do is I get the invoices from people. The rebate is applied for once one would call substantial completion, or when one's ready to move back into their home, or if they've lived in their home throughout the renovation, which they will realize at the end of it they probably shouldn't have, but around that point in time when their house is livable once again. So that's what I do, is I basically take the invoices and do the rebate through that. And that's if one is to knock down a house and rebuild it, in that type of situation, the rebate applies, or when one does a substantial renovation. A substantial renovation is a very broad term that has many different interpretations. So I always tell people, if they feel that they've done something that they consider substantial, to review it with me, and I can very quickly let them know. My fee, which is 15% of the rebate one gets back, is only payable once somebody receives the rebate back from the government. So I'm very good at knowing what one can get a rebate for and what one won't get a rebate for, since I'm only going to get paid.
Well, you have to be, otherwise you're not going to get paid.
I'm not going to get paid. But I also know the stuff inside and out, so I'm not trying to say that I only do simple cases, but I know the stuff very well, and I know what can get a rebate and what can't get a rebate, having done close to 5 months.
So to clarify, it's not about a certain number of a person's spending to determine the substantial renovation. It doesn't have to do with the cost. It can just simply have to do with the action.
Right. It has to do with the extent of the renovation and what was removed and replaced and what wasn't. And I'm very good at understanding what somebody's done to determine whether that would qualify for the rebate or not. Okay. And so very quickly I can have a conversation with the individual and determine whether a rebate will be available in that situation. There are other HST rebates, which I'm not going to go into too much detail on. I'm just going to mention if somebody buys a new condominium, there's a rebate in that situation. If one buys a new condominium but doesn't intend to live in it, but wants to rent it out instead, there's a rebate for that as well. Those types of situations, usually when they buy it to move into it, a new condominium, that's usually looked after by the builder, and one just wants to make sure there is a big distinction between one moving into the condominium or renting it, and there are different programs, and sometimes people find themselves in a problem because they applied to the wrong program. But if anybody has those situations, or if you guys have that come up, certainly give me a call and I can explain the details of what one wants to make sure they avoid. The other rebate.
Sorry, I think Cheryl has a question.
I was just wondering if a condo corporation was doing a major renovation, is the corporation able to claim back that HST? Or is it just individuals?
It's just for the individual units. So let's say you sold a condominium to somebody who then decides to do a major renovation to the condominium. They, for their unit, could get a rebate for that. But the rebate is for the individuals for their units.
Right, not common space.
Okay, so
it doesn't pertain to common space, no.
Okay, that was my question. My other question is, sorry, and it's only on materials. Like, for example, say I bought a condo and I'm renovating it, but I hire Samantha as my designer and she gives me a bill. Can I claim that HST, or it has to be materials only?
That's a great question, which I probably should have clarified a little bit better. Virtually any invoice that you have from the conception of deciding you are going to do a project all the way through to the completion of the project can be included in this. So all the way from a designer to an architect to the survey, all the way through to landscaping. Landscaping could be included, and even if somebody put in a new pool, the pool could be included as an invoice. There are some exceptions. I'm not going to go through them, but they're very few, but they're more in line with the types of things you deal with that stay with a house when somebody sells the house. So like they don't include blinds because they assume that blinds stay in a home. Sorry, they don't include blinds because blinds go with you when you move, although usually they don't, but those aren't included. So when somebody has an invoice from blinds to go, I don't include that type of invoice because obviously they'll see the invoice saying blinds to go and they say that's not included.
I have another question. Is there a time limit after you've done the renovation that you can apply for this home rebate? Like, is it 10 years, 20 years? Like, do they say?
Another great question. The rebate, getting back to this term substantial renovation, there's also a term called substantial completion. And one has 2 years from the point of substantial completion to apply for these rebates or this rebate. So once again, substantial completion is a little bit of an abstract term, but that's sort of when it kicks in. And once again, you sort of have to look at the factors that pertain to every situation. But they consider once the house is livable, that's substantially complete. So I use sort of as a reference, once somebody installs their appliances or moves back into the house, covers 99% of the situations. There is the odd situation that comes up where somebody says, well, what about this? What about that? Once again, you have to deal with the specifics of any situation.
Okay, if somebody, for example, goes into a rental unit and they put $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, for argument's sake, into that rental unit, can they claim HST on those items?
On a renovation or any work done to a unit or a home, the first hurdle you have to get over is the one being a substantial renovation, which is call it basically gutting the house or doing something major in a major way to the home. So if you don't get over that first hurdle, then nothing can be included. If you get over the first hurdle, if you had $100 worth of invoices, technically you could use that to
so you don't have to. Oh, it doesn't have to be ownership. It can be.
No. It also has to be the owner. It has to be the owner of the home. And so on a rental type situation, if you gut your rental property and redo it, technically it's available, but I won't go through that situation because it's something that people won't want to do. So I won't get into that.
Okay.
So just to recap on the renovation and new builds, the main issues on it is doing a substantial renovation, having your invoices, and once you get anything below 300,000, it's about a little over 5%. But once you get to over 300,000, that would make up get you to the maximum rebate of $16,000.
Okay.
And the other thing, while you're doing this type of project, and the property is considered to be vacant, there's a property tax refund that works out to about 25% of your property taxes for the period of time you're out of the house. That has to be done on an annual basis. So if you were out for part of 2020 and again for part of 2021, those applications have to be filed by February 28th of the preceding year to get the refund. So,
I think Cheryl has a visitor and she's laughing. So I feel like I'm in school or something when my mother would start laughing and I would start laughing. Sorry.
As long as you weren't laughing at me.
No, and luckily we're not crying. This usually happens with crying.
Oh well, what can you do?
No problem.
We say, we call these real talks with the Graff girls. They're very authentic and real.
That's perfect. It makes them better.
Right?
That spice to life. What can I say?
So
that really does give us good information to be able to share with people, that there's so many people now buying new homes or renovating homes or condos, and they should really, everybody looks to save money, so they're saying, oh, I'm going to, pay cash, but they're much better off really paying the HST if they're doing, as you refer to, Michael, as the substantial
Well,
renovation.
from the perspective of getting into what one uses invoices for or not uses invoices for, I only work from the perspective of what one has an invoice for, so I don't ever encourage anybody to do things one way or the other. But there is an element of that one can still be better off, certainly for a certain portion of a project. The rebate doesn't recapture all of it, but I don't want to, that's something that is not for me to discuss with regards to the benefits of doing things in a certain manner.
Okay.
But
you know what, it does allow for paper trails and, hopefully nothing goes wrong, but invoices are good for that too. Also, if you decide to go sell your home, it's always good to have the paper trail of what you really did and you spent, because lots of people are like, oh yeah, we renovated our home, we spent $500,000. Well, here's the bills to prove it. So I actually do believe in invoices. I think they're important. I think it's good that people really do keep track and remember and have that paper trail of what they really spend, instead of putting these big numbers. Especially as realtors, it's very challenging when they tell us that they spent like $500,000 and they really only spent about 2 or 3. And we're trying to get them to accept the offer that they've already got about $350 up. So you've definitely covered your costs at the very least. Do you want to sell at this point? Are you ready to make a move or not? So We do thank you for your time, and we would like to share with everybody how they can be in touch with you. So what's the best way to be in touch with you, Michael?
So as I was saying, it's always best to have a conversation with me. And anytime I get an email, I always say to people, call me anytime and we can review what you're suggesting, because there's always particulars that you need to grasp before you start to deal with a project. But my email is michael.solway, SOLWAY, @simpatico.ca. And my phone number, which people can call me anytime, 647-225-0876.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, and happy Victoria Day, because we are recording today.
Thank you.